All right, so you actually were doing it right. My mistake. Sorry about that. I'm going to go ahead and graph it the way you had it graphed. So we're going to start off with this point right here at negative 1 comma 3. So x is going to be located here at negative 1 comma 3. So that's where x is. And then I'm going to do the same thing except for y is at 3 comma 0, which is located right here. So we have y, which is at 3 comma 0, and then we're going to finish it off with z, which is at negative 1, negative 2, which is right here. So put z there, which is at negative 1 comma negative 2. Now, the reason why I'm writing the actual points in is it's going to be really helpful for me later because you are going to have to find distance and stuff like that. All right, so here's what we got. We got this guy here using those points. So we got that triangle. And what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to find the perimeter of the triangle. It says right there, find the perimeter. Keep in mind, we're going to round to the nearest hundredths, which means 2 decimals. The easy one to find, the easy one to start off with is right here. Okay, and that's because it is up and down, it is vertical, and we can just add or count. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we know that the height of that triangle right there is 5, or the distance between those two points, x and z. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to try to figure out what is the distance between x and y. Unfortunately, it's slanted. What that means is we're going to have to use the distance formula. So we set up our distance formula, that big old house with the square room, 2 square rooms that is. And remember, in the first room, we're going to put the x's. So we have my x's chilling over there, negative 1 and 3. Now remember, my x's, they're not big fans of each other. They don't like each other, so we put a minus sign between them. We're going to do the same exact thing for the y's, sorry. Our y is going to be 3 and 0, so we're going to put in a 3 here and a 0 here, remembering that they don't like each other, so we're going to subtract them. And then we just simplify at this point. Negative 1 minus 3 is negative 4. So we have a negative 4 square, and then 3 minus 0 is 3. And so we have a 3 squared. Still inside the houses, in the house, sorry, and then we got to simplify that. 4 squared is 16, 3 squared is 9, so we now have 16 plus 9 inside of our square root. 16 plus 9 is 25, so now we have the square root of 25, and that's one of those nice ones because we actually know what the answer is. The answer is 5. So over here between x and y, let me erase this thing right here, we actually know that the answer comes out to 5 because we just did all that work. So the answer here is 5. So those two sides are congruent to each other. All right. Remember, to find the perimeter, we need to know all the sides. So we have to find that last side over here. Once again, slanted sides, we have to actually use the Pythagorean theorem. So sorry, my mistake. We have to use distance formula. If you understand how to use Pythagorean theorem, you're more than welcome to do that. I'm going to use distance formula for this one right here. So we set up our big house. So we got the big old house going on. Remembering that we have 2 rooms in our house, and those 2 rooms are squared rooms. In the first room, we put my x's, my x negative 1, and my x 3. So we have my 2 x's, negative 1 and 3 in that first room. Next, we're going to use my y's. So we have negative 2 and 0. So we'll put negative 2 and 0, remembering that my x's don't like each other, so they're always fighting, and my y's don't like each other. They don't like each other, so they're always fighting. All right, now time for simplifying. Negative 1 minus 3 is negative 4, so we have a negative 4 being squared there. Negative 2 minus 0 is just negative 2, so we have negative 2 squared there, remembering that they're still inside the house. 4 squared, or negative 4 squared, is 16, and negative 2 squared is 4, so we have a 16 plus 4 inside the square root. This simplifies, or adds the 16 and the 4 to the square root of 20. Unfortunately, I don't know what that is, so what I do is I pop on over to Desmos. So I click on the Desmos screen, and I type in square root, bottom key right there, square root 20. And it gives me 4.47 rounded. So we're going to write that this is approximately 4.47. We now know our third and last side, which is 4.47. We can now apply the perimeter formula. We know that the perimeter is just the sum of all the sides. We have a 5 for one of our sides. We have a 5 for our second side, and we have a 4.47 for the third side of this triangle. This gives us a perimeter of 14.47 units if you like, or just 14.47 because units were never defined. If you have any other questions, please hit me up.